Is van life cheap? Many of you have asked me that question. What is the cost of van life over the years? Well, today I'm going to show you some numbers. I looked at June 2022 and discovered that my van life cost was about $4,600. I looked at June 2023. I was shocked to discover that my van life cost was nearly $7,800. Now there's big reasons why there's two giant differences here. We're going to get into that. But I think if you're really doing it on the cheap, you can do van life for about $1,700 a month. We're going to break that down for you. And I think if you want to have somewhere in between luxurious and cheap, you can do van life for the comfort mode for about $3,000 a month. We get into all that, including reoccurring numbers. My name is Scott. Thanks for watching. This is my YouTube channel, Go Small, Live Large. Let me roll into the numbers for June 2022. The bottom line question is, what would your budget look like for doing van life of trips, days, weeks, or months, or even doing full-time like myself now in my 5th year? Let me show you the categories that are going to be included. There's 13 of them. I'm going to show them on the whiteboard, and then we'll get into the individual numbers, including gasoline. The categories, please. Okay, so we're talking numbers, and this stuff can either really get you excited. That's not me. I'm not a numbers guy at all. But I'm going to ask you to hang in there with me. I'm going to try and make this a little entertaining. So what I've done is I've categorized each expense, and what I'm going to do is show you the number, and then we're going to put them on this and show you the tally of that month. So June 2022, I spent $420 on fuel, and that basically equates to about 1,200 miles. What was happening in June 2022 is I was dealing with a rental property sale, and I largely stayed put in my former hometown of Kankakee, Illinois, which is about an hour south of downtown Chicago. So it was a very different month than what we're comparing to June 2023, which was I was moving around. So it's a kind of a fun comparison. June 2022, I spent $451 on lodging. And by the way, what I'm calling lodging is KOI sites, campgrounds, and harvest hosts, and Cracker Barrel. So I'm including all that into lodging. I stayed and I paid to stay. Clothes, I spent $257 on clothing. Internet, I had two devices, my iPad through AT&T and my Verizon Jetpack, $95 for internet. Subscriptions, I got two, like Apple Music, I've got Planet Fitness, and subscriptions like that, right? Kind of ongoing. Health, I did have a couple of trips to the urgent care in June of 2022, so that came in at $453. I'm not including healthcare insurance here because that's covered by my partner Kyle, his corporate insurance. So that is not covered here. Gear, I spent $247 on gear for the Go Small, Live Large channel, probably camera related. Food, now this is kind of high. I can't really figure out why, but according to my credit card statement, $736 was spent on food. That's when I was going through my stop being fat period. Bourbon, I'm actually separating this out. $101 spent on bourbon in June 2022. Why? Because it's something I really enjoy. I love the taste. I love the discovery. I have approximately 40 bottles of bourbon in my van, so that's why I'm separating that out. Eating out. I like to eat out a lot, it turns out. Wait till you see the next month of the next year. $500 eating out in June 2022. Entertainment includes tickets to go do something that I wouldn't normally do. There was a Van Gogh exhibit in Chicagoland, and that's where probably some of that went to. The van payment is included in this. The van payment is $600 a month, reoccurring for 20 years, or until I sell it. But this month I actually did some things to the van, so that's why it's $1,552. $500 of that is the new tire and wheel that went onto the new ladder by Rover Vans. But my recurring van expense is $600, and I had $0 spent on Go Small, Live Large business expenses that month, June 2022. Okay, let's tally these on the board, and then we'll get the number there, and then we'll shift to June 2023. You having fun? All right, then we add this up, and this comes in at $46.25. Probably way more than you thought. Me too. It's always fun to do a retrospective on your expenses. Holy cow. Now here's what's something to think about, and I'm quite serious about this, is there's a few ways to do van life, right? I'm here to explore, discover, learn. I'm not going to do this forever. What doesn't include, or if you think about your terrestrial life, what's the housing cost? Mine is $600. That's the big difference between van life and a traditional terrestrial house life. You probably do a lot of this stuff in addition to your traditional housing expenses. My real housing expense here is $600, which is my van payment, plus fuel. So it's just rounded to $1,000 a month is my housing expense for fuel and the van. The rest of the stuff I'd probably be doing anyway, right? So you got to think about that. Now, I'm doing this full time and I'm doing it for discovery, right? So let's go to the next year. This was a big number. Where's my big number? Am I sitting on it? No, I'm not sitting on it. Oh, it's right here. It's trying to hide itself. Okay, there's some big reasons why this number is so much higher than this number, and it's not inflation. Let's break down the categories. Okay, June 2023 expenses. You ready? Gasoline, $538. Strangely, I only traveled 500 miles more in June of 2023 than June of 2022. I'm kind of still scratching my head on that, but the numbers don't lie. Lodging, because I've been moving around Colorado. Maybe that's it. I'm just moving around one area of Colorado. Lodging, $951 for lodging in June 2023. Clothes. Now this is a big increase because I went out and bought some new hiking clothing and shoes. Internet. This went up because I added T-Mobile to my iPad and my old iPhone, and I've actually signed up for the $20 a month for Xfinity Wi-Fi. I discovered it in in Colorado Springs and in Denver, and it worked really well. So I'm in Salt Lake City now, and I'm able to pick it up when I get downtown. This campground isn't covered by it, unfortunately, and their Wi-Fi, as usual, is worthless. So anyway, $150. This is an increase. Subscriptions, I've added Anytime Fitness to this. I got Planet Fitness plus Anytime Fitness plus all the usual stuff, Apple Music, Apple Care, all that stuff. Equipment, I invested some equipment to help make these videos more interesting, more better, more fun for you. $421. Food was about the same. I'm kind of amazed at the food budget. Now here I can tell you that because I had to park my van at the airport for a few days, I threw out all the food in the fridge. I had to come back and buy it. So there's about another $100 here. That's more than usual, maybe even $150, because I threw out all the food in my fridge and freezer, and I had to repurchase it when I got back to Denver airport to get my van. Bourbon, separate category. Yeah, bourbon, $416 a month. That is because I discovered an awesome Foss Company family liquor establishment that's been around for nearly 100 years. I bought a number of bottles of Colorado distillery bourbon. So that's why there's a big jump there. Entertainment, $745. That's because I took a really expensive train ride. You're gonna see the video about that. And we did some other fun things with van friends, so that's why that is more expensive than normal. Again, back to the van. Normally this is $600 for the van payment, about $100 a month for the insurance payment. And I did some different interior decorating, so that's included here as well. Health, fortunately didn't have to do much with health. I can't remember what the 80 bucks is for. Business expense. I did do a number of business related expenses, so $583 for that. Are you ready for this one? I was eating like a champion all around Colorado. I don't know how I managed to end up eating $1,200 in restaurants, but apparently I did. So clearly there are some places I can trim the fat if I need to do that, but that's what it is. So let's put the numbers on the board, and then we'll talk about budgeting. This is kind of the Scott style, about $3,800 a month. There's the Comfort style, which is about $2,800 a month. I think two people can do this pretty easily. And then there's, if you're really trying to do it on the cheap, I think you can really get away with van life for about $1,700 a month. Let me explain that in a second. Let's put the numbers on the board. Are you ready? Okay, eating out is just an embarrassment, I have to admit. 1, 2, 6, 1. I just found some really great places, and when I find a great place, I go back again and again, because I'll never be there again, right? Like Wyatt's Pub and Grill in Colorado Springs. Some of the best fish and chips ever. Okay, business, 583. All right, pretty big difference. About $3,000. What was the deal? Let me show you on my iPad, because it's going to make a little more sense to you. And this is not to scare you, discourage you, or encourage you. It's just sharing the stuff, and then you kind of decide what works for you. So I'm trying to get to this place on my iPad. So the difference here is about $3,000. You see that? So the big difference was I had a big business expense. I spent a lot more money in restaurants. I spent a lot more money on entertainment. I spent money on equipment, bought some new microphone gear, bought some new clothing, and I went to town on the Bourbon. So that's about $100, and from the 1 year to the next year is about $3,600 difference. So again, I'm not a math major. You guys and gals can parse and fuss and muss with all these numbers. I am actually kind of a general sense of where I need to be monthly. I don't budget. I'm not a numbers guy. So I have a general sense where I need to be. About $4,000 a month is kind of the way I roll, right? And $4,000 times 12 months is what? That's kind of what I'm living on. And I don't have a corporate job. I left corporate America in September 2021. So between my two partners, Volta and Embassy RV, and YouTube, thanks to you, I managed to cover all those expenses and put money in the bank for savings every month. And I don't have a corporate job. So while I think you're going to think that this is pretty excessive, I would not disagree with some of you. I think a couple traveling for many weeks in a year, I think you can do this with ease. Again, looking at these numbers, what would yours look like? I think $3,000 a month, you can have some really beautiful experiences in your van. But if you're going to have your van, have those experiences. It does no good having a van sitting in the driveway. And I think for those who want to do it really down on the cheap, let's erase the board, and then I'm going to put up what I think you could probably get away with for just $1,700 a month doing van life. You got to do some things pretty radically different than what I'm doing. Let's say you're on Social Security with a small pension somewhere else, and you're bringing in $3,000 a month, and you don't want to run out of money before you run out of life. I think something between these two, $2,000 and $3,000 is about where I think you can really have some nice experiences, really enjoy traveling, not hunkered down in a junker, just trying to outlive your money. Not trying to be dramatic, but that's the deal. Okay, so let me erase this, and then we'll talk about some of these budget items that I think that are, number one, reoccurring. They occur every month in my van life, probably just like they do at your terrestrial house or your van life. And let's see if we can put some numbers to where these come from. Fair enough? Having fun? Whew! Numbers. I get hot and bothered already. I'm ready for a cocktail. Just kidding. Okay, let's erase this. Hang on. All right, I'm going to be like the teacher in front of the whiteboard. What do you think of my new whiteboard? Kind of cool, right? Where am I going to store it? Under my mattress. Okay, so what we're going to do is try and figure out what a Scott-style van life budget looks like. I think this is pretty realistic. This would probably do it for two people real easy, I think. Let's type in the numbers here on the board. So gas, I think 500 is probably about right, figuring $4 a gallon ish, you know, $100 a week ish. Lodging, 800, that includes campgrounds, RV parks, national parks, Cracker Barrels, and harvest hose. Clothes, I put any clothes up here. Internet, we're going to do 150. You could probably get away with less. I need redundancy subscriptions, 250. Food is 300. Van is 700. So my van payment is $600 plus $100 a month for insurance. Gas is up here. Food, van, health. Just kind of figuring something's going to pop up, right? Health. Entertainment, 300. And restaurants, 500. Because you got to taste the local stuff, right? Otherwise, hello. Biz, we're not doing biz. We're going to do bourbon. So bourbon, I've got bourbon. I got myself on a budget of $200, and that's, you know, 2 to 3 bottles of kind of custom crafted stuff distillery. So I'll try to come up with $3,800. Let me know what your numbers would be. Let's do the kind of examining this. So if we're trying to shave $1,000 from my luxurious van life to maybe just looking for something a little more budget friendly, what would you cut out? I would say you could probably reduce this by several $100s. You could probably reduce this a couple $100. So there's, you know, $400 savings right there. Eating out, you could probably cut that back. You could probably cut out internet by half. You could probably, I'd leave the rest. I'm not sure what that totals, but maybe that's pretty close to $1,000, right? Now let's talk about van essentials. I'm going to erase the board because this is where it gets really tricky. So let's think about how can we come up with $1,700 a month in total expenses. I've kind of thought that through here a little bit. Now this is very subjective. So I'm going to say there's a couple ways I think really to think about getting to a number like this, and there's a lot of use in the West of BLM, Bureau of Land Management, land to park on for up to 14 days at zero cost. Since you're not moving around, gas is going to be pretty cheap, but I'm still going to put it in here at $400 just because it's kind of a baseline. Lodging, I'm going to say is $100. Food is about $300. Subs, maybe $100. Internet, let's just say 100. That could probably be cut in half. Entertainment, well, you're watching the wolves and the moose and the mosquitoes, so entertainment's going to be $100. Maybe you got van friends, you sit out and do happy hour all night. Nothing wrong with that. And you got your van here. So in my case, it's $600 plus $100 for the payment. No, it's actually a few more dollars. Let's take it out of here. Try and keep the numbers legit. So $300 in gas, but because you're sitting still for 14 days, then you got to move, and then again another 14 days. So you move 4 times in a month to stay on BLM land. It's a very different way than I roll, but that's how some people can get to this magic number. And again, if you are on a limited income, you could have a lot of fun in a van for $1,700 a month. You could have a pretty good time in your van for $2,800 a month. And if you want to go small and live large, you could go the $3,800 a month. Let me know which of those you want to do. Be most appropriate for the way you want to travel. That would be really nice to know. One of the last things we want to explain is reoccurring charges. So think about your monthly bills at your terrestrial house. Let's apply that same philosophy to van life. I think reoccurring is, unless you paid cash, you have a reoccurring van payment. Certainly a reoccurring charge monthly or annually. I pay mine annually for the insurance. Monthly, you're going to have a monthly fuel cost. You're going to have a monthly internet cost. You're going to have a monthly food cost. You're probably going to have a monthly subscription cost. And then there's probably some degree of lodging costs. But I think everything else is pretty much subjective on what you want to do. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 categories of reoccurring, and the rest is really up to you. Which brings us to a point I really want to talk about, because we talk about it a lot on this channel, and that is Why do you want to travel? Why do you want to travel in an RV? Specifically, why do you want to travel in a van? It's a very different travel approach than pulling a towable or driving the big Class C or the bigger Class A bus style. So I think the first thing you really need to think through is, why do you want to travel in a van? I travel in a van so I can go anywhere, park anywhere, see anything I want to do. My entire house is with me. Sometimes I get to where I want to go. Maybe it's even street camping, urban camping, or it's BLM land. I put the thing in park and my camp is set up. Why? Because I want flexibility. I want complete discovery. I want to have the utmost, did I say flexibility? Freedom. That's why I'm traveling in a van. I can do anything I want. I can go most everywhere I want. And that's why I choose a van. So why? We'll really help you decide which of these is more your style of travel, right? Why is super important to figure out first, because then the floor plan and the RV systems enable which of these are going to bring you more happiness and joy. Now, why do you travel in a van and you go with the weather and you're staying on BLM land? Because you're trying to keep your resources and not spend a lot of money. That's a very different way to roll than what I do. I've chosen to kind of go this route. You know, it makes me happy, and that's the deal, right? It's answering my why. Maybe this answers your why, is the whole point. So kind of a different video than we normally put out, but many of you have asked me this many times over the many years, and it was time to kind of do this. So with that, we say thank you for watching. Comment, this is a big topic, right? What would your budget be? What would you be willing to deal with? Would you be doing the Scott style? Would you be doing the comfort program, or would you be doing the essentials? Whether it's just a few weeks of a trip or months or full time. Let me know that. And until we see you soon, we say journey on, because you got to get your journey on. And peace be with you. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Super cool. Got here at the right time because the family just arrived. Don't like getting video with other people, and especially kids. But thanks for coming along. Okay, we're headed back to the van and then to the BLM site. The adventure continues. I'm glad we stuck this out, got the right directions. I'm going to put the directions down below in the video notes so you can see that. We learn, we share. You decide what's best for you. That's just the way we roll.